Listen, I've been there and you've probably been there too, where you feel like you have no motivation to do anything except maybe the bare minimum, and you just feel like you have low iman. This is a problem that every single Muslim either has faced or will face. And the Prophet ﷺ tells us that every Muslim has periods in their life where they're going to have lethargy. Basically, they're not going to feel like they want to do a lot and they're going to have low motivation. And they're also going to have periods in their life where they have high energy and, they're really productive and good stuff happens to them. So I want you to recognize that this kind of low iman position you're in your life right now, it's not unnatural or it's not weird or, bad or anything. It's just something natural that's going to happen to you. And honestly, you could turn it around and turn it into a blessing. But the interesting thing is, where this comes from is a hadith. And what the hadith says after is that the person who stays moderate in their religion, right? Someone who doesn't go to extremes is going to see success over time. But the person who does go to extremes and really, strives really hard for a short amount of time, that person is not going to be consistent and he's actually going to see failure. And I think this is the key to breaking free from this low iman position you're at right now. Because, let's be honest, you can't make a magical 180 turn and change your life tomorrow. You're going to have to take small steps towards the right direction to actually see success. So the first thing I want you to do is get into the habit of doing small things that are still beneficial to your life and that you can actually stick to. And one of these things is gaining knowledge. Now, gaining knowledge is one of those things that's pretty much guaranteed to increase your iman over time. And the reason why is because the more knowledge you have of Islam and religion, and especially of good deeds and the rewards of good deeds, the more likely you are to do good deeds. Another habit you can and should do is daily dhikr, which in my opinion is very effective because it's easy, right? You could just do a small amount of dhikr a day, and that's still going to improve your iman. And you should also get into the habit of making dua a lot more, because there's no drawback to making dua and there's infinite rewards. So whatever amount of dua you're doing right now, pretty much just 10x it, and I think that's a good amount. But I want you to know that there's one key you need to have for all of these habits, and that's that you want to start off small. So you don't want to start doing 100 verses a day, and you want to start off with one verse a day or one tafsir a day, or if you're getting knowledge, one hadith a day, or just 10 zikrs a day. You want to start off very small. Now obviously your iman is low right now, so you're not going to have the motivation to do anything crazy. You're not going to be able to memorize 10 pages a day, but maybe just reading one hadith a day is still easy enough for you to be able to stick through it. So I want you to make these habits so easy that it's unreasonable for you not to do it. And that's why I said reading one hadith a day, right? That's so easy. I mean, you could do that right after watching this video in like 2 seconds. And when you make the habits this easy, you're pretty much locking it in for yourself, right? Because imagine doing that for 2 weeks. That's not going to take any effort and you could probably do it. But 2 weeks or, 3 weeks is about the amount of time it takes to lock in a habit and, make it a habit. And when you do it this way, you'll actually start making progress slowly but surely. All right, so after you implemented these important habits into your life, I want you to understand what the actual reason is for your iman being low, which is one of two things. The first is that there's a specific sin that's really hurting you and you keep falling into it over and over again. And in this case, you probably already know what it is and you're probably just procrastinating on stopping it. So because you know what the sin is that you're probably doing, it's as simple as just stopping it. And just doing that alone will probably skyrocket your iman. Now, of course, this is easier said than done, but let me give you a very effective way to stopping the sin. And it's super simple. It's called Salat al-Tawbah, which is basically every time you commit the sin, you just pray 2 rakats right there. Now, of course, this is difficult, but honestly, it's one of the best ways to stop sins because you're pretty much praying right after you commit that sin. So you're going to be close to Allah right after you kind of distance yourself from Him. Now imagine you did this every single time you commit a sin. You just get up and pray 2 rakahs right there. Inshallah, in time, you're actually going to be able to break free from that sin very quickly. But in a lot of cases, and this is what I want you to note, is that low iman can be caused by things that are actually permissible, not directly sinful. And the most common thing is spending too much time or wasting time on social media and things like YouTube. Because when you're busy with these things, your mind becomes focused on these things. And instead of focusing on Allah and Quran and the important stuff in life, you start focusing on YouTube and whatever else. And video games are a massive culprit of this. I mean, if you play video games, right, you probably understand that even if you just play for 30 minutes to an hour a day, it's not just that amount of time that video games take up. Because the rest of the day, you're probably still going to be thinking about that video game or, it's in the same case of YouTube even. So these things actually harden your heart. And basically a hardened heart is the same thing as having low iman. You're not going to have that connection to Allah. And unfortunately, the permissible things actually cause this. Sometimes even more than the harmful things. And in the modern day, these things are designed to be so addictive. So I feel like you have to really watch out and be on guard against these things like social media addiction and YouTube addiction. So I think this is something that just every Muslim has to do, which is stop overindulging in social media. Because even if you're not directly sinning, which, let's be honest, if you're on social media, you're probably going to fall into a couple of sins. But even if you're not, you're going to harden your heart and you're going to lower your iman. And it's overall just going to be a horrible experience for you. A tip I can give you here is basically set times in your schedule where you do a certain thing. So maybe you set time for work, maybe right after you wake up in the morning, or you set a time for exercising. And I want you to be strict with these times. Because what happens is, we get into YouTube binges or wasting time on social media when we don't know what to do. We're just bored and we have nothing to do. So you might as well go on YouTube and, watch whatever. So instead, by setting clear schedules and tasks you do at certain times, you're going to be focused and you're going to actually know what you have to do at this time. So you're not going to just randomly go on YouTube. Anyway, that's all I have to share. May Allah help you with your low iman phase. And don't forget to keep making dua to Allah. Salaamu alaikum.